All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm JustMoparJoe. I wanted to talk a little bit about some old school drag race suspension technology that I think still actually works pretty well. And I know a lot of guys that run this setup. If you will remember, I am working on this 70 Roadrunner right now, and I was about to pull the rear end out of it, and I thought back to, I've got an article saved in my phone from an old Mopar magazine, and it was about Dicky Landy's proper recipe for basically rear traction in a Mopar. You'll see this one's been tubbed, and we're going to leave it tubbed. I did another video on cutting new floor pans for it, but since then, when I cut out those trunk extensions, you see the quarter, there's two quarters on that side right now, and kind of a similar deal on this side. So they're both pretty bad. It's getting new quarters, so I'm rolling the rear end out. As I was doing that, I was just kind of looking at some of the old school architecture here. Most people have seen this trick of moving the springs in. So you have your rear spring hanger. They basically give you that. You can buy it in a kit. I think they're still available. I've got one somewhere. And then you get your front boxes to put your leaf spring eyes in. So let's check that out. And this car had some old heavy duty subframe connectors too, which is always a bonus in a race car. I think this thing was made up at least in the late 70s, if not mid 70s, and it is a real 70 Roadrunner. So I thought about, you know, what springs are in this even, because I was thinking they were maybe some kind of super stock deal. And I looked back at my Landy article, and basically, so they were building a car. The axle housing, they used a Dana 60. This is obviously 8 3/4. And they talked about getting the mounting pads for the pinion snubber. But you set it on down there. He talks about a pinion snubber. This one obviously doesn't have it, but it looks like, you know, that's probably been beat on some. It doesn't look terrible, really, but they didn't reinforce that. I don't know a lot of guys that do, but some prefer to. But I was focused on this right here. And he said you could also see that the spring hangers were drilled to accept 3 mounting locations. This one has 2. And Landy says that mounting the front spring eye as close to the floorboard as possible creates maximum bite. So they had that going on for them. They went to the upper hole. And that's the old school tech. I've seen it work before, not in this car, but I actually had a 72 Demon that never had a traction issue, which, you know, maybe it was because I built the engine for it and it didn't have enough power. Anyway, that's a joke. Both sides up here. And then he talks about the leaf springs to use. And I actually have a pair of these leaf springs. The initial setup used 2002 and 2003 super stock springs and Mopar such and such drag shocks. This does not have that number spring in it. And if we count our springs here, well, look, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a full 6 springs on the driver's side, and the passenger side has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those bottom 2 are actually partial springs. So we have 5 full size and 2 partials on this side. So 253, I believe that's a 9965, and that's what they have on the passenger side of this car. 2539795, and I looked those up online for B bodies only, which I get a lot of my answers from there, and A bodies only. The left side should have 6 layers, and the right side has 5 springs and 2 half layers. That's what we got here. So that's pretty cool. What do they go to? 68 to 70 Charger, Super B, Coronet, or GTX. So I do believe that would include our Roadrunner. So having some heavy duty ones. One guy said he had some for a 68 Roadrunner 383. This car was actually 383 3-speed in the floor from the factory. An example of a pinion snubber. Somebody out there's never seen one. And that just mounts on the front of your carrier or hog head or whatever you'd like to call it. And beats on that floorboard whenever you go to take off. But a lot of guys didn't realize these cars can actually separate. So if you see in Dick Landy's instructions there, I'll pop that back up. He likes to have a preload of this against the floorboard before taking off. So he's already preloaded there. You can watch one of these cars when they take off. Actually, the entire car raises up. Back to our suspension technology here. These are not the super stock springs. They're just heavy duty B-body springs, which potentially could have came in this 70 Roadrunner. This might be a mod that Mr. Landy did not approve of here. I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. They just drilled and bolted them, it looks like. Maybe a piece of strap over that. I've always seen just a clamp that goes around or U-bolt style, but I don't know about drilling holes in the springs. What do y'all think? Both sides. Those are brass bushings instead of rubbers. Y'all didn't even notice that earlier, did you? Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. That was just kind of a quick tech video I wanted to share with you. I don't get to see very often an old school race car. You see where I had to cut the subframe connectors back down flat with the floor and where the old cage used to be. This one's going back on the street and gonna be a fun street cruiser and going back sassy grass green. So if you like old Mopars and restoration stuff and engine stuff and Mopar related content, check out the channel. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll catch you next time.